Mammon, the spirit of wealth. It's one of the subtlest names in Scripture. Not a howling monster, not a creature with horns, just a word that sounds almost respectable. Mammon. Jesus is standing on a hillside in Galilee, dust on his sandals, crowds pressing in from every direction, and in the middle of the Sermon on the Mount, he says something that should stop us cold. No one can serve two masters. Either you will hate the one and love the other, or you will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and Mammon. Most people hear that and think money, and they're not wrong. But they're not entirely right either. In the New Testament, Mammon is commonly thought to mean money, material wealth, or any entity that promises wealth and is associated with the greedy pursuit of gain. But here's what most people miss. Jesus doesn't just say you shouldn't serve both. He says you can't. It's not a suggestion. It's an impossibility. He's treating Mammon like a rival god, something that demands total allegiance. During the Middle Ages, Mammon was commonly personified as the demon of wealth and greed. Peter Lombard wrote, "Riches are called by the name of a devil, namely Mammon, for Mammon is the name of a devil." Medieval theologians assigned 7 archdemons to the 7 deadly sins, and Mammon became the demon of greed. So is Mammon a demon or just a concept? The answer might be more terrifying than either, because Mammon doesn't show up with threats. It shows up with promises, security, comfort, control, and slowly, quietly, it takes the throne in your heart that was meant for God alone. But here's the thing about Mammon. If it is a demonic entity, it's operating at the lowest level of the hierarchy. It targets individuals, one heart at a time, one wallet at a time. The demons we're about to encounter, they think bigger, much bigger. Some of them influence entire nations, and one of them, we'll get to him eventually, commands them all. The Prince of Persia, the territorial power. The prophet Daniel had been praying and fasting for 3 weeks, 21 days. No meat, no wine, no comfort, just desperate intercession for his people. And the whole time he thought heaven wasn't listening, but it was. An angel finally arrives, but he doesn't come with an apology for the delay. He comes with an explanation that pulls back the curtain on something most people never see. From the first day that you set your heart to understand and humbled yourself before your God, your words have been heard. So why the 3-week wait? The prince of the kingdom of Persia withstood me 21 days, but Michael, one of the chief princes, came to help me. Wait, a prince held up an angel of God for 3 weeks? What kind of prince has that kind of power? This Prince of Persia wasn't a human ruler. He was a powerful, intelligent, and malevolent spiritual being, part of Satan's demonic hierarchy, assigned to that specific nation to hinder God's purposes and influence its earthly rulers against Israel. His title, Prince, suggests a position of significant authority within the demonic realm. And notice it took Michael, one of the chief princes of heaven, to break through the opposition. This is where things get uncomfortable. Because if there was a Prince of Persia, the passage also mentions a Prince of Greece, which raises a terrifying question. What nations are being influenced today by powers we cannot see? But here's the hope buried in this dark revelation. Daniel's prayers were heard on day 1. The answer was dispatched immediately. The opposition didn't stop heaven, it just delayed the delivery. Your prayers trigger movement in the spiritual realm, and sometimes they outlast demonic opposition simply because you don't quit. The Prince of Persia had territorial authority, a whole empire under his influence. But there's a name in Scripture that operates differently. It doesn't control nations. It attacks something far more personal. Belial, the spirit of worthlessness. Some names cut deep. This one cuts to the bone. Belial is a Hebrew word meaning without worth. The etymology comes from 2 words, Beli meaning without, and Ya'al meaning to be of value, worthless. That's what it means. Throughout the Old Testament, Israel is warned against the sons of Belial. The idiom appears 15 times to indicate worthless people idolaters, the wicked men of Gibeah, the corrupt sons of Eli, Nabal who insulted David, Shimei who cursed the king. But here's where it gets personal. In 2 Corinthians 6:15, Paul asks a piercing question. What accord has Christ with Belial? The only time the word is used to identify a specific being, Paul uses Belial as a direct name for Satan, or at minimum, as a direct counterpart to Christ. Just as Christ represents righteousness, light and life, Belial embodies wickedness, darkness, and death. That's the strategy of this spirit, to make you feel worthless, to convince you that you have no value, that your prayers don't matter, that your life doesn't count, that you're too far gone, too broken, too stained to be loved by God. Belial whispers worthlessness. But here's the counter-truth. The God of the universe sent his son for you, died for you, rose for you. That's how much you're worth. And yet, while Belial works on your sense of identity, we're about to meet something that doesn't whisper at all. It screams. And it's not one voice, it's thousands. Legion, the multitude within. One man, picture the scene. A graveyard on the eastern shore of the Sea of Galilee, the Gerasene region, rocky, desolate, and somewhere among the tombs, a man is howling into the darkness. Mark 5 tells us this man lived among the dead. No one could bind him anymore, not even with chains. He had often been chained hand and foot, but he tore the chains apart and broke the irons on his feet. Night and day he wandered the tombs and mountains, crying out and cutting himself with stones. Then Jesus steps off the boat. The man runs toward him, not to attack, to plead. Jesus encounters the possessed man and demands to know the demon's name. The response is chilling. My name is Legion, for we are many. In the Roman military, a legion contained around 5,000 soldiers. We don't know if the number was literal, but the text gives us a clue. When Jesus casts the demons out, they enter a herd of about 2,000 pigs, which immediately rush down the hillside and drown in the sea. 2,000 demons, maybe more, crammed into one tortured soul. But here's what's remarkable. Their numbers didn't give them any confidence against Jesus. The terror is bursting out in everything they say. What do you want with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? I beg you, don't torture me. They're begging, pleading, terrified. One word, one command. That's all Jesus needed. And Legion, thousands of demons strong, obeyed instantly. Which raises a question. If Legion, with all its numbers, was powerless against Christ, how powerful is the one they all ultimately serve? We'll get there. But first, we need to talk about a name so mysterious that scholars have debated its meaning for centuries. It appears in one of the strangest rituals in the entire Bible, and it might reveal one of the highest-ranking fallen angels in existence, Azazel, the scapegoat demon. Once a year, on the Day of Atonement, the high priest of Israel performed a ritual unlike any other. Leviticus 16 describes it. 2 goats were brought before the Lord. The high priest cast lots. One goat would be sacrificed to Yahweh. The other would be sent away for Azazel. The Hebrew term Azazel occurs 4 times in Leviticus 16, but nowhere else in the entire Bible. Some translations render it the goat that goes away, which is where we get the word scapegoat, but other translations treat it as a proper name, Azazel. And here's what makes scholars pause. The wording says 1 goat for the Lord and 1 goat for Azazel, 2 divine figures being contrasted. So who or what is Azazel? Jewish texts from the Second Temple period show that Azazel was understood as a demonic figure. In the Dead Sea Scrolls, Azazel appears as a leader of the angels that sinned in Genesis 6. The Book of Enoch describes him as a fallen angel who taught humanity forbidden knowledge weapons of war, cosmetics used for seduction, sorcery. In the Hebrew Bible, the name Azazel represents a desolate place where a scapegoat bearing the sins of the Jews was sent. During the late Second Temple period, Azazel came to be viewed as a fallen angel responsible for introducing humans to forbidden knowledge. If this interpretation is correct, the Day of Atonement ritual takes on a stunning dimension. The sins of God's people weren't just removed, they were symbolically placed on a goat and sent back to the demonic realm. Back to Azazel, as if to say, your corruption ends here. We belong to God now. The ritual wasn't worshipping Azazel, it was declaring God's victory over him. But if Azazel represents a leader of rebellious angels, we're about to meet something even more terrifying. A being called the Destroyer, the king of the abyss itself. Abaddon, the destroyer from the pit. There's a name in scripture that sends chills down your spine, just by its sound. Abaddon, the destroyer. The Hebrew term Abaddon means destruction or doom. Its Greek equivalent is Apollyon, one who destroys. And in Revelation 9, we meet him face to face. Picture the scene. A star falls from heaven and is given a key. The key opens a bottomless pit. Smoke pours out like a furnace. The sun goes dark, and from that smoke emerges an army. Revelation 9:11 describes their king. They have as king over them the angel of the bottomless pit. His name in Hebrew is Abaddon, and in Greek he is called Apollyon. But these aren't ordinary locusts. They have faces like humans, hair like women, teeth like lions, and tails like scorpions. Their stings torment people for 5 months, but cannot kill them. Those who are stung will seek death and not find it. Abaddon is their commander, a general of hell's armies, a destroying angel waiting in the pit for his moment. Some scholars believe Abaddon is one of Satan's underlings, one of the rulers, authorities, and powers Paul mentions in Ephesians 6. Others wonder if this is Satan himself by another name. But here's what's crucial. Even Abaddon operates under God's authority. The pit is locked until God allows it to open. The torment has limits. 5 months, not forever. The destroyer can only destroy what God permits him to destroy. Still, we're not at the top yet, because there's a name the Pharisees used when they wanted to deliver the ultimate insult, a name that means Prince of Demons. And Jesus had a lot to say about him. Beelzebub. The Prince of Demons, when the religious leaders wanted to attack Jesus at his core, they reached for the most offensive name they could find, Beelzebub. The name originates in 2 Kings, where we meet a Philistine deity worshipped in the city of Ekron. King Azazel of Israel falls through a window, injures himself badly, and sends messengers to inquire of Beelzebub, Lord of the Flies, whether he'll recover. God's prophet Elijah intercepts them, and his message is devastating. Is it because there is no God in Israel that you are going to inquire of Beelzebub? Therefore you shall not come down from the bed to which you have gone up, but you shall surely die. Ahaziah sought counsel from a false god instead of the true God, and it cost him his life. But by Jesus' time, Beelzebub had evolved. Some biblical scholars believe the name became Lord of Filth or Lord of Dung, a term of bitter scorn, and the Jews used it as an epithet for Satan himself. In the Gospels, Beelzebub is identified as the Prince of Demons. Think about what happens. Jesus casts out demons. He heals the oppressed. He sets captives free. And the Pharisees' response? He casts out demons by Beelzebub, the Prince of Demons. They're accusing Jesus of working for hell's second-in-command. But Jesus doesn't get defensive. He gets devastating. Every kingdom divided against itself is laid waste, and no city or house divided against itself will stand. And if Satan casts out Satan, he is divided against himself. How then will his kingdom stand? The logic is airtight. Jesus isn't working with Beelzebub. He's dismantling his kingdom. Every demon cast out is territory reclaimed. Every healing is a victory over darkness. Beelzebub may be called the Prince of Demons, but there's a reason he's only the prince, because there's a king. And we've finally arrived at the name behind every other name. The serpent in the garden, the tempter in the wilderness, the dragon in Revelation, the adversary of God and humanity since the beginning of time. Satan. The adversary, every demon we've discussed answers to him. Every dark scheme traces back to his throne, and every name he carries reveals another dimension of his evil. Satan, the adversary, the accuser. He first appears in Scripture as a heavenly prosecutor, the one who accuses Job before God's throne. But his story goes much deeper and much darker. Lucifer became so impressed with his own beauty, intelligence, power, and position that he began to desire for himself the honor and glory that belonged to God alone. This pride represents the actual beginning of sin in the universe preceding the fall of humanity by an indeterminate time. The story of his fall echoes through Isaiah 14 and Ezekiel 28. You were the signet of perfection, full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. You were in Eden, the garden of God. You were blameless in your ways from the day you were created, till unrighteousness was found in you. And then the fall. Your heart was proud because of your beauty. You corrupted your wisdom for the sake of your splendor. I cast you to the ground. Lucifer, morning star, became Satan, adversary, when pride unmade him. And he didn't fall alone. Revelation 12 tells us he swept down 1/3 of the stars of heaven, angels who joined his rebellion. They became your heart was proud because of your beauty. You corrupted your wisdom for the sake of your splendor. I cast you to the ground. Lucifer, morning star, became Satan adversary when pride unmade him, and he didn't fall alone. Revelation 12 tells us he swept down 1/3 of the stars of heaven, angels who joined his rebellion. They became the demons, the principalities, the powers of darkness that wage war against God's purposes to this day. Man's Beelzebub. Every demon named and unnamed operates under his dark authority. But here's what changes everything. He's already defeated. The cross wasn't just an execution. It was an invasion. When Jesus died and rose again, he disarmed the rulers and authorities and put them to open shame, triumphing over them. Satan is powerful, but he's not all-powerful. He's active, but he's already condemned. He prowls like a roaring lion, but even lions can be caged. And one day, he will be. The devil who had deceived them was thrown into the lake of fire and sulfur, and they will be tormented day and night forever and ever. The serpent who started it all will be the first to face the flames. So there they are, every demon named in Scripture. This isn't information meant to frighten you. It's meant to awaken you, to teach you, to help you learn, because if you know your enemy, you fight smarter. And if you know your God, the one who commands angels, who silences legion with a word, who crushed the serpent's head on a Roman cross, you realize the battle is already won. The question isn't whether God will triumph. The question is which side you're standing on when he does. If you want to go deeper with us, join the community and check out the video on screen. I think you'll find it just as eye-opening as this one.